For so long, people complained about what Adrian Martinez had going on at Nebraska. They complained about the turnovers. They complained that he ran the ball too much, that he wasn't accurate with the throw. They complained about anything they could. And at the time, I was empathetic towards the fans because it felt like the one guy who needed to make the big play, or the one guy who needed to make things run through him and make it work so we could win games, just wasn't getting it done in the crucial moments. And when I really analyzed it, and I've talked about it a bunch in my videos in the past, it wasn't all Adrian, because he was required and asked to do way too much to make that offense run. And at the time, we all had a little bit of belief that there was still some competency in the coaching staff and in the play calling, and that Adrian didn't have to do all of those things that would end up losing the games. And the reality was, after we started this season and realized even with a new offensive coordinator, the offense doesn't work and the culture's all messed up and everything else. And now that we look at Adrian in this new setting with a new offensive line and with a new coaching staff, and they understand what his skill set is, but they don't rely on it too much. We've seen him become a different player this season. And even though he wasn't dynamic as dynamic as he was at Nebraska in these first couple of games, today he showed the whole country who he is. The reason I had to come on here and make this video was because at first I was just really happy for the guy. You know, I appreciated the moment for him because I thought, wow, this guy has gotten so much heat on social media. He's been called this dude who's been in college forever and hasn't done anything and all this negativity. And then tonight, after the game, I went to ESPN. I got to show you guys this. I go to the front page of ESPN, and this is what I see. Adrian Martinez, 3-1, upset. Number 6 team in the country, who just blew out my team about 7 days ago, by the way, taking a bow on their turf where he lost last year. He lost in pretty good fashion. It wasn't a blowout when he went to Norman the last time, but man, how good does that look for this dude? And you know he's a good guy. If you listen to his podcast, if you watch him in his interviews, anything, he's a good, genuine person. Scott Frost, don't know what his deal is. I can't judge his character based off his energy, but Adrian, you can feel it, right? So to see him in this moment just makes me happy as an Adrian Martinez fan, not a Nebraska fan, because I wanted to see him win no matter what happened, no matter what his decision was on whether he came back or not. And I think there were a lot of Nebraska fans who were accepting of him leaving, including myself, because I thought maybe it is him to some degree, and maybe we do need a refresher. Man, tonight he showed that in the right system he can thrive. I want to show you guys the stats if you didn't watch the game, and I'm assuming you did watch the game, and that's why you're here. Oklahoma, the number 6 team in the country, arguably a playoff contender, who I called a pretender after I watched Dylan Gabriel throw, I don't know how many, 7 or 8 bad balls last week in Memorial Stadium. He's not as good of a quarterback as they hype him up to be. He makes really good throws at times, but he misses weird, whatever. Oklahoma is a little bit overrated in my eyes. And today I was thinking maybe there's a chance that Adrian can go in there and keep it close. So I didn't end up betting the game, because if I was going to bet anybody, I'd bet on Oklahoma -12. So I just said, screw it. You never know what's going to happen. They had that loss to Tulane last week. It's going to be a bounce back energy game. Who knows? Anyway, the point is I watched this game with intrigue because I thought there was a chance they could do something. And you look at these stats, 21 of 34 for Adrian with 234 yards, 6.9 per attempt with a touchdown through the air. And then here's the key. This is the Adrian that we all know. 21 carries, 148 yards, and 4 touchdowns. And these weren't some BS touchdowns. I mean, he put his head down and he powered into the end zone. He had one run at the end there that put the game on ice, where he tucked it and took off down the left sideline for like a 50-yard gain. I mean, it was classic Adrian Martinez. And it just felt good to watch. It felt good to watch a guy who I've grown to love and appreciate for so long, even though I didn't get to watch him win many, finally get his moment. I go back to this picture because this is just so glorious. The dude's standing there, and this is his signature win. He's been in college since 2018. He's lost to Colorado. He's gotten blown out by Michigan. He lost to Ohio State, to Wisconsin. He's lost to freaking everybody, and he's gotten so close so many times. And yeah, it just feels good to watch this guy win. I don't know him personally, but I can tell you this is a good human being who deserves this moment. So I'm going to go to chat right now because there are a lot of Nebraska fans in here who obviously are sharing in my moment with me. Cornhusker Corner, I'm happy for him, very, very happy for him, but it was just a matter of time. It was just probability at this point. It's true. When you're playing that many games at a high level, which he was, you're eventually going to turn the corner. But man, I love to see it. Roger says he just ordered his K-State sweatshirt. I like that. See, I'm a K-State fan by default this year. I told you before the season, my second favorite team is going to have to be K-State because I've got to see this dude get a win. Finally, he did. And it hurt me last week when they lost to Tulane because there were all these rumors maybe Adrian's going to get benched. I was like, damn, really? Is he really not playing that well at all? And when you watched him, he was just kind of a game manager. They weren't asking him to do too much. It was more so just throw some little passes here and there, hand it off to Deuce Vaughn. But yeah, that was awesome. Tater was pumped to watch him win. LSU was pumped to watch him win. All you guys, I don't see anything negative about Adrian Martinez here. And that's kind of the point. Everyone liked the guy. Everyone wanted to see him do big things. You look back at last year in that Wisconsin game. Or no, the Michigan State game, sorry. The dude broke his freaking jaw. Broke his jaw. And he played the next 7 games, I think it was. That is a serious deal. Your jaw is, your face mask has to sit here. Your jaw lines up right here. And every time you get hit, that's exposed. That dude is a warrior. And not only is that exposed, he was exposed. He had an offensive line who, to be fair, didn't do much for him. He was always on the run. He was always sitting there with pressure in his face, about to get taken down. So he had to really sit there and know and be confident in his abilities to escape. And man, he had some serious abilities. I would say the one knock on Casey Thompson, not that he's a bad quarterback or anything. I think he's really strong. He has some serious issues with the guys around him at this point, but he doesn't escape like Martinez does. And if you would have had Martinez in that Oklahoma game last week, I think we would have seen a lot more drives get extended because of his legs. Casey hasn't really shown that. And that's one thing I've missed from the quarterback at Nebraska. Casey's more accurate, obviously, but those legs do some things. And it did a lot today for Kansas State in that Oklahoma game. Man, he escaped some pretty dark situations. And it looked just like when we were watching him last year against any other good team he was playing against. Just find a way to win. Here we go. Lone Wolf says he's still not an AM fan. One game doesn't make a Heisman candidate. But I will admit he lit it up tonight. Good on him. And hey, I'm not saying he's a Heisman candidate. And I'm not saying he's the best quarterback in the country. That's not what I'm here for. I'm just here to say, wow. Finally, he gets his moment with a win because it's about the win for these players, right? You can have the individual stats all you want. Adrian had plenty of great individual stats. He had multiple games with over 350, 400 yards, but it didn't mean anything because at the end of the day, I was upset. You were upset. And he had to go to bed at night knowing, yeah, I did all of these great things, but no one's happy. That's kind of like it's like a meaningless win for him, right? It's a meaningless win to have all the stats and no win at the end of the day. Man. Nintendo says he did better simply because K-State has a good O-line. I think it's partially that. It's partly that he has more pieces around him, right? Not that the receivers are really good, but he has an offensive line who's in pretty good shape. They have a really strong running back, so teams have to account for everybody around him. They don't just have to worry about him making massive plays, and when that happens, things break down, right? Because he didn't make all of his plays just on broken plays. Because at Nebraska, that was how he made a lot of plays. He would be running around for 2 minutes, and then after the play would break down, guys were spread all out, he would take off for a big run. Whereas tonight, there were more designs where he could take a 2-step drop back and then take off because the defense was worried about other things. And it did feel good as a Nebraska fan watching Oklahoma lose. Because I did think Oklahoma was overrated, and I thought they got a really easy win last week over a defeated Nebraska team because they obviously are going through some things right now. So watching OU lose made me feel pretty good. Not that I'm like a hater on OU or OU fans. It's just last week felt like a joke. OU was celebrating on the field after, and they're doing all this. Like, you're playing a Nebraska team who's literally tapped out. At least they were tapped out at that point. Maybe the energy's changing from here on out. But, man. Yes, sir, I'm watching the USC game. I had to come on here and do this real quick, but I'm going to get back to that in a minute. I've been watching all the games today. There was some fantastic football on today. I'll tell you what, being a Nebraska fan and watching games on Saturday, especially when Nebraska loses, makes it a lot harder to enjoy college football as a whole. But when Nebraska's not playing and I don't got to dwell over a loss or just sit there and think and contemplate my life, I can enjoy everything going on. Arkansas, heartbreaker. Man. Arkansas, they could have won that game. Anyway, there are a bunch of really close games today, a bunch of overtimes. I watched them all. I sat here on this couch for the last 12 hours watching games. So yeah, great day of college football. Joey says Adrian revenge tour against OU. Yeah, it is. It's because last year was so close for him. And I just feel like it's an Adrian revenge tour in general. He needs a bowl game. He deserves a bowl game. And a lot of people say, no, nothing's deserved. It's earned and all that. Yeah, true. But he's earned it. He has carried the team on his back for 4 years. He earned the starting spot at Nebraska as a true freshman over another highly touted quarterback in Tristan Gebbia. He earned that. And man, just think back to that first day. I know you guys all remember. Colorado game. Adrian fires the ball deep down the field to J.D. Spielman. I think it went for a touchdown. And I think before that even, he had like a 50-yard or 60-yard touchdown run. Man, the future was so bright. I felt like Adrian Martinez was going to go to a Rose Bowl. I honestly did. I thought this is the quarterback who Scott Frost is going to use in his junior year to get him to that 10-11 win season. It never happened there. But for the sake of Adrian, I hope Kansas State can do some damage. And they can. They've got to play a tough Kansas team who's coached by potentially Nebraska's next coach. That's going to be a really tough game for them. They've got to play a tough Texas team still. But they jumped the biggest hurdle in the Big 12 today. I don't know who they play next week. I got to look, but wow. Exciting. Real Talk's got a question. I just got one question. Where were the red flags with Frost and Verduzco before Nebraska hired them? I don't know where the red flags would have been before Nebraska hired them because I don't think we did have many. I think we thought Nebraska was hiring the right guys because of the past, right? Maybe chat saying something that I'm not reading, but I don't think there were red flags with Scott Frost or Mario Verduzco. I think that was the right hire at that time. And unfortunately, Scott Frost didn't make the changes he should have made. I bet Adrian would agree. I don't know. I'm not saying anything because I don't know Adrian personally. But I'm guessing he would say, in hindsight, maybe Scott Frost shouldn't have been as loyal to his staff who wasn't getting it done. Or maybe Scott Frost just wasn't the guy to get the culture right, and that's why he wasn't able to succeed. Again, hindsight's 20/20. But I don't know that question. Rogers says, I wonder if Scott Frost called Adrian. I don't know their relationship, what it is now. I would hope he texted him and said, hey, great win. I would hope, because they were super tight. Little information. Scott Frost wanted to do a documentary on Adrian after he broke his jaw last year in that Michigan State game. Obviously, that got flushed once he transferred. But they were prepared, and they had it going, that they were doing a full documentary to show how much of a fighter that dude was. So I think Adrian Martinez Scott Frost had a lot of respect for Adrian Martinez, a lot of love for him. I think that's a beautiful connection, you know, a quarterback and his quarterback's coach and the guy who molded him into what he was before he went to Kansas State. Anyway, that was awesome. Crypto Badger said he's sick. He had 500 on OU. Oof. 500 on OU with the points, dude. You know who Adrian is, and you know he can keep things alive. And I don't like betting against Kansas State. I'd rather bet on Kansas State because they're a wild card. Kansas State has done some damage against OU the last couple times they played. Remember, there's one year there's like an onside kick at the end, and that ended up covering for me with Kansas State. Yeah, I don't like betting against them. But damn, Badger, thanks for the super chat. Thanks for the 20, even though you took a hit on that. I took a hit on Indiana. I rode Indiana because I thought, Indiana's going to be pumped up. They got a decent quarterback. And then they fall flat at the end and give away 7 points that busted my cover. Stupid Indiana. Hey, if you're a Nebraska fan, which I know all you are, Indiana's coming to town next week. And Connor Bazelak has some serious accuracy issues. I mean, serious. So that's actually a game where I actually feel pretty comfortable. I wouldn't say Nebraska's going to win right now. I got to look at some more of the film on Indiana, but I would say there's a really good chance Nebraska can take it to them. So I'm excited for that one. And it's a night game. That'll be awesome. Joey says Kansas State versus Nebraska in Lincoln is a night game. Thoughts? Just going to keep it real. I think Kansas State would beat Nebraska by 10 in that game right now. They're a really complete team. And I'm not sure what we're thinking about Chris Kleiman for next head coach. Not sure if he'd want to do it. I'm going to work on the next head coach rankings. I'm going to do my candidate ranking video. I think that's what I'll title it. 15 candidates or something like that. Give you guys the order in which I think would be the best fit for Nebraska. You guys probably know who my number one is, but I'll save it for the video. I'm going to try and fire that one off tomorrow. Adrian didn't say Nebraska had a bad culture. Yeah, Adrian never said that. Not sure if the chat said that, but no, Adrian never complained about Nebraska, never said anything negative about the coaching staff. He's been positive since the day he left. That's one of the reasons Nebraska fans still like him. He had a podcast talking about Nebraska sports, talking with his teammates, and he's such a likable dude on there, and he gave you so much information. And even when he left, he only had positive things to say about the coaches, Scott Frost, the other players, his teammates. So, yeah, he's awesome. The Badger back again with $20. Thank you, bro. This has to be the wildest first 4 weeks of college that I remember in a while. Much love to all the underdogs. Go get it. You know, that transfer portal changes everything. It makes all these other teams competitive. Personally, I'm a fan of it because I think it's good. I think it's good to not have to watch the same teams win every single week. Don't know what the games are looking like next week. I know we've got Kansas Baylor. Maybe? No, maybe that's in a couple weeks. I can't remember. I got to look later. But there are a lot of good games watching for these next couple weeks. Ice Dragon says, hey, Connor, did you see Iowa State Baylor game and any thoughts? Yeah, I did. There were some terrible calls that game, like atrocious. I did like how Matt Campbell got passionate, was storming on the field, talking back to the refs because he was fighting for his team. Those calls were BS. Baylor obviously has the stronger defense, obviously the stronger offense. They're a more complete team. Obviously, they get better recruits. They're in Texas. If I had to pick one, I'd probably roll with Dave Aranda. The interesting thing is, though, does Dave Aranda come and bring Grimes, the offensive coordinator, or does Grimes get promoted to be the head coach at Baylor and he's got to find his own new guy? That's something I've thought about, and I'm not sure what it would look like. Who does he go after? He pulled Grimes from BYU, and I think Grimes was the BYU OC when Zach Wilson was there. Maybe? Yeah, I think he was. So interesting. Not sure what my thoughts are yet on Campbell completely. Still iffy on that one. He's got to be up in the top 5, though, for Trev Alberts is my guess. So I've got to do a little bit more research. Here's one issue. I saw this today. Actually, let me read this stat to you for Matt Campbell while he's at Iowa State. It's a little bit of a Nebraska vibe. Iowa State's last 6 losses and 8 of its last 9 losses. I don't know. That makes a little bit not really. Iowa's last 6 losses and 8 of its last 9. Anyway, 8 of the 9 losses that Iowa State's had recently came by 7 points or less. So if that's not a Nebraska stat, tell me what is. That type of energy isn't going to bode well. But to be fair, Iowa State cannot recruit to the same level that Nebraska can. And that's why Matt Campbell would come to Nebraska, because he has a much higher ceiling. Imagine Matt Campbell developing Nebraska's players, because every player on Nebraska, not every single one, but almost all of them who were recruited at a high school are stronger than any of the recruits at Iowa State. I don't know if they've had a 4-star recently. Maybe they've had 1 or 2, but they're generally all mid to low end 3-stars. Not that recruiting rankings matter all the time, but generally, if you're looking across all of college football, the higher recruits are the ones who are going to the schools that are winning the most games. But yeah, Matt Campbell developing Nebraska players would be a big thing, but maybe Dave Aranda developing them would be bigger. So right now, I would say Dave Aranda won the Nebraska coaching job battle this week. Can't wait to see K-State, Texas Tech next week in Manhattan. Such an electric town, win or lose. Okay, Rick, thank you for the $10 super chat. Thanks for letting me know that's who they're playing. Texas Tech takes down Texas at home in overtime by 3. And Texas, man, they almost came back and won it. They fought down at the end of the game with 40 seconds left. Hudson Card had a great throw down the right sideline, and they got in position to kick like a 46-yarder or something. Awesome finish there. But yeah, Kansas State, Texas Tech should be a battle. The thing is, usually you pick the team who's coming off the emotional high from their win. Well, both of these teams just had super emotional wins. Texas Tech at home is a different beast. I don't know who I would take in that game. It's going to be tough. But I don't got to worry about it. Not my team. Not my team. I'm worried about Nebraska next week. Nebraska at night. Casey says Campbell is not an option for him anymore. I understand. I get that you don't want him because of the loss, but you got to look and you got to realize back in the past, the guy did some really incredible things when he first got there with really average talent. And when you come into a program like Iowa State that's a below average Big 12 team and you're trying to rework them, I think that you've got to give him credit for that. And if he did it back then to them, imagine we could do it at Nebraska. He got them to 8-9 wins. At Nebraska, he might be able to get them to 9-10. But yeah, you don't want a coach who loses games, and Dave Aranda looked like the fiery coach who doesn't lose games. The Badgers back, $20 tip. Martinez tonight reminded me of his freshman year versus Colorado before he got hurt. He hasn't played like that all year. It'll be fun to see if he backs it up. Yeah, this is his first game where he had a lights-out performance. He's been really average. I don't know why. I don't know if it was tonight and he was pumped up because it was a top 10 matchup. You know, Nebraska has trained their players to play up and play down to the level of their competition. So I don't know if that's it. But yeah, it did remind me of that Colorado game because he was electric in his first ever game. Thank you for the 20, Badger. Appreciate you. The executive producer of my show, obviously, guys, just so you know. Ethan says he likes the flow of my live streams. Hey, guys, if you want me to do more live streams, I can do more live streams. Always just let me know in the comments. Tell me what content you want. I'll make myself available, and I'll create any content you want. One thing I did last year was I would do like predictions and reactions for the whole week of games, and I thought Nebraska fans aren't really into that, so I just stuck to Nebraska. But if you want more going on, I can do that. Okay, here we go. Adrian was playing not to make mistakes, and that's why he wasn't playing as well these last couple weeks. And that makes sense. When you play more confident and play looser and you're not stressed out and tight, you get more accomplished. And maybe you throw an extra pick or maybe you fumble the ball because you're loose with it. But at the end of the day, if you have a game where you score 5 touchdowns and have the kind of day that Adrian did, you can afford a couple bad plays because he lit it up. And he didn't have any turnovers tonight, I don't think. So, pretty special. Yeah. He did not have any. I'm actually pretty confident in that. Look, with the right guy, culture can be completely changed in one offseason. I'm feeling Aranda right now. Leipold's guys played hard as well. Man, Kansas is not playing around, and Duke is not a bad football team. So Kansas had a sellout crowd today. The energy was right. Their offense looked dynamic. They run the ball really well, and I think that's what Nebraska fans are going to like about that offense. Leipold does a lot of quarterback run stuff, but he gets the ball to different guys. A lot of guys touch it. So what they do is they run the ball first to open up the pass. It's the dream scenario at Nebraska that we have not figured out how to do, unfortunately. And if Leipold was to come in, I think he'd be really effective with it right out the gate. You've got 2 strong running backs next year who, I mean, you'd hope they'd be back in A.J. Allen and Anthony Grant. And if they are, those dudes are for sure going to touch the ball. And if they do, they're going to open up opportunities for the pass game. So yeah, Kansas they're hot right now. They're looking good. Oh, let's talk about Mickey Joseph really quick. So here's the deal with Mickey. A lot of people are asking, will Mickey end up staying at Nebraska next year if a new coach comes in? Okay, so there's 2 schools of thought. Actually, there was a rumor. Let's address the rumor first. The rumor says that in this new agreement that Mickey made, because Mickey had to make a new agreement for his temporary head coaching position, he's getting an extra $33,000 a month or something light to be the head coach for these next 3 months. So on top of the extra $30,000, he has a bunch of bonuses he can hit if they were to make a bowl game or whatever. So Mickey supposedly, and this is a source from Sports Illustrated, not a Nebraska source, this was on another website, said that Mickey requested that he be retained. So if that is agreed upon, that means the new coach who comes in cannot fire Mickey Joseph. That's the rumor. Either way, even if it's true or not, I don't think the new coach is going to get rid of Mickey. Mickey's way too valuable of a resource. Number one, Mickey is one of the top wide receiver coaches and assistants in the entire country. Proven in the last few years. Now he's taken over as the interim head coach. That's even more that he has to work with that's playing into his side. The new head coach is going to come in and see this guy has already done a bunch at LSU, and he's already a nationally known name. All the coaches who come in are going to know who he is. They're going to say, you're a great recruiter, and you have ties to Nebraska. You understand the culture. You've already got a bunch of recruits. We cannot afford to let you go. We cannot afford to lose a guy like Malachi Coleman or the dude down at LSU who I'm now blanking on his name because I have so many thoughts in my head, who Mickey went to see this week, who's like a high-end 4-star receiver. So, yeah, Mickey's not in danger of losing his spot, I don't think. I think the fear for me would be if Mickey decided he didn't like the new head coach who came in and he said, hey, guys, I'm out. I'm going to go do something else. So Mickey's staying. Just so we're all clear, if Mickey wants the job, Mickey will have a spot on this next coaching staff. Every other coach, I don't know. Can't say anything to them. I don't know. Bill Busch, maybe, because Bill Busch is a really respected name in the industry, and a lot of coaches have already coached with him or heard of him. He's been around. He's been at Ohio State. He's been at Rutgers recently. He was at LSU, now at Nebraska. So he's a respected guy. And these coaches, you've got to realize, can do different things on the staff. They don't have to stick with the position group that they originally started out with because they've done and managed different positions over their careers, right? Mickey Joseph, you'd assume, would stay as a recruiting role and as a wide receivers coach. But Bill Busch can be special teams or he can be a defensive guy. He's got different skills. So that's my thought on the Mickey Joseph deal. Do not worry about losing Mickey Joseph. That dude is here to stay as long as he wants to because he's too valuable of a resource. Should Gage Stanger, a former quarterback from Millard South High School in Nebraska, or I should interview Gage Stanger. I should interview a lot more players. I think that's something I'm going to do in the future. I want to interview recruits and talk to them during the offseason. I think that's easier. Off-season content gets slow. I think that'd be a good plan. Chris says we need to recruit and develop linemen. That's the number one priority right now. Man, I can't disagree with that. What's tough is we have a lot of good recruits who come in on the skills side, and it felt like we had a bunch of good lineman recruits coming in. So maybe it's more of let's get the right coaching staff in place and then see what we can do over time with these linemen. Because Bryce Benhart was a super highly rated recruit, and I have to assume if he would have gone to Notre Dame, he'd be an NFL caliber guy. Maybe not NFL caliber, but you know what I mean. He'd be a starter, a potential starter. The dude's massive, right? Cornhusker Corner says if we get a defensive guy at head coach, Whipple will get serious consideration. You know, here's the tough thing. I think if we get, it depends what type of coach, whether it's defense or offense, but either one, they're going to try to bring their staff in. So I don't think Whipple really stands a chance. There's a small percent that says he would. But the odds are that new coach is going to want to get his own guy, someone he's worked with. There have been rumors that he didn't work well with Narduzzi or he didn't work well with Frost. So the new coach might be like, hey, you know, I don't know Whipple. Let's just roll with somebody who I'm more familiar with or have coached with in the past. And I don't think Whipple would have a problem with that. I don't think Whipple's super tied to this job. He wanted to make it work if he could make it work. And if it doesn't, he'll move on and do something else. That dude's got plenty of money and plenty of opportunity elsewhere. So there are some people who aren't a fan of Whipple, it looks like. Interesting. Here's another good point. The NFL and the NCAA are two different breeds of coaches. If you have an NFL coach like a Bill O'Brien come to Nebraska, he's got some experience in college, but he's an NFL guy. He wants to be in the NFL. Just look at his whole body of work. Over the last 20 years, only like 4 years were in college or something. The other 16 were in the NFL. His skill set is for NFL players. So, and NFL culture. It's kind of like Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer goes to the NFL for a year and fails miserably. Nick Saban goes to the NFL for a year, fails. But they're Hall of Fame all-time coaches in college. So I would prefer we stick to a guy who's college-oriented, who has that experience. I trust it more. And right now we need to go with something we can trust. Getting back to the chat, guys. Sorry. Yeah, Michigan State getting stomped out by Minnesota. Minnesota is no joke, and I would say they're my favorite now to win the West. It's hard to argue that they're not the best team in the West. Wisconsin, not very good. They lost to Washington State tonight, who lost to Oregon in dramatic fashion. I had Washington State +7. Backdoor cover if you have ever seen one. Anyway, Minnesota has such a strong offense because they've got these guys they've been developing for so long. You've got Mo Ibrahim. You've got Tanner Morgan, who's been there for as long as Adrian was at Nebraska. And PJ Fleck has his culture deal going. I'm not sure how PJ Fleck would do at a school like Nebraska. Who knows? I wouldn't mind it. But I think he's like the perfect fit for Minnesota. They're probably going to win the West unless Iowa has something to say about it. But we'll see. Ryan, sorry if mentioned before, but Mickey coming back regardless of who is head coach. Yeah, I mentioned that a minute ago. We talked about that. It's a lock. Mickey's coming back no matter what. Even if the rumors aren't true, Mickey's going to be back in Nebraska next year because he wants to be, and a new coach is going to want him there. Can't afford not to have him there. Thanks for the 10, Ryan. Appreciate you. So this is another good thing. to note. Jim Leonard's the defensive coordinator who people have talked about as a potential for Nebraska. And Jim Leonard just got abused tonight by Ohio State. Now, it's Ohio State, but their defense has been whack. Wisconsin doesn't have a good defense this year. They lost a lot of guys. I think they lost 6 guys on D, something like that. But still, I'm not feeling Jim Leonard. For the coach sweepstakes, you've got guys who are winning right now. And I know we can't just judge it off who's winning right now. We got to judge like the last 3 years. But because, it could be a flash in the pan, a one-hit wonder. But it would be weird to me to bring in a guy like Jim Leonard who's coming off like a 6 or 7 win season from Wisconsin and doesn't have the dominant D that he normally did. And especially if he hasn't even had any head coach experience and they haven't done anything with him outside, use him as defensive coordinator. So what are his real skills coming to a big place like Nebraska? It doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make sense. I'm just going to leave this here. I'm not going to make a comment on it right now, but you guys can see that comment. Yeah, we're all of us are not on the Jim Leonard train. I can say that. If Scott Frost is the coach last week, is the Oklahoma game closer? Probably not. Maybe a little bit, but probably not. You would think that Scott Frost would have made some more changes that Whipple didn't. And I don't know why, but Anthony Grant didn't play after the first quarter in that Oklahoma game. I'm not sure if they wanted to rest him and they didn't want him to get injured because the blitz was coming so heavy and they knew it was a game they were going to lose anyway. But Anthony Grant not playing was confusing, and I can confirm he wasn't injured. No injury to Anthony Grant, and that's not why he went out. So I don't know. Interesting. Scott Frost is a good player. He would have been great as OC. Yeah, he just rose too high as OC, and he had to get his opportunity to be a head coach. I think he'll end up going back to being OC eventually, though. Wonder if K-State practices with music. It's pretty funny. Yeah, Matthew, the Badger said this too. It looked like the Colorado 2018 Adrian, the fully healthy, brand new Adrian. It was awesome. I like this. Orman, thank you for the 10. Appreciate the support. Everybody who's super chats, if I miss any of them, thank you guys all for sending anything to help support the channel is amazing. Huskers FB, give Urban or give us Urban or Dion, or give Urban or Dion the biggest deal in college football history. Man, could you imagine if Dion came? Okay, Dion and Mickey Joseph recruiting some of the best players in the country to Lincoln, Nebraska, like 4- and 5-star level dudes. Dangerous. It's a big risk. Big. A school like Georgia Tech can entertain the Dion stuff because they need to take big shots like that. But Nebraska can play the safe game and go for an established coach like the ones down the road in Kansas and Iowa and take a shot on one of them who's proven some things. Dion's proven he can recruit, and he's proven he can win at, FCS? At the FCS level, but yeah, it's too risky. We took a shot with Frost. We can't take another shot right now. Can't afford it. Can't afford it. Anyway, guys, I got to go work on my video. So as much as I want to stay on here with you, I got to work on it because I'm doing the coaches rankings. So thanks for being on here tonight with me. Thanks for celebrating in the Adrian moment because that was amazing. Wow. This is going to be an exciting week ahead because all the coach talk now feels like it's getting a little bit closer and it feels like it's getting more real. The rumors have calmed down. We kind of know who the candidate list is, so I can comfortably start talking about it because I know it's not just a bunch of hype. We know who kind of the guys are and who the guys aren't. So stay on the lookout for that video. We'll have an Indiana preview video this week. We'll also have another live stream. I've got my friend Jake, the Indiana expert. He will be on with me for the social club on Thursday. I've also got an interview coming up with the QB plug soon. He DM'd me today and says we got to get that done, so I'm going to get on a call with him. We're going to plan for a good interview. QB Plug's awesome, has a bunch of really good recruiting content. He has a massive TikTok, I think over 1 million followers, and a really big Instagram, same thing, like 1 million plus. He's huge. So that'll be really good content. Yeah. I'll see you guys soon. Today was a really good day of college football, but I'm out. Peace.